Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sirajul Faisi. I welcome you in my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I am going to present how to filtering a precipitate. So let us start. You know my friend, the most convenient device for collections of the precipitate is a filter crucible. You know filter crucible? I will show you later, which is a glass crucible with a porous disc in the bottom or a Buchner funnel with filter paper. The filter crucible using crucible holder or crucible funnel is mounted on filtering flask and the filtration is accomplished by suctions. So first you see this setup. This is crucible, this is made up of glass, and you can see here the white one is the filter. Now there is a crucible holder and then you have Edelman flask. So this is the setup, filtering setups. So friends, as much of the mother liquor as possible to decant it through the filter without disturbing the precipitate in the beaker, so that the major portion of the liquid may be filtered rapidly and before the precipitate begin to clog the filter. Clog the filter means sometimes it is not working properly. So illustrate the pouring operation is good to keep the filter crucible always fairly full of liquid. After the filter crucible is filled, it may be necessary to interrupt the pouring and to set the beaker on the table while waiting for the crucible to empty. When pouring is interrupted, the beaker is not turned upright immediately because there is a tendency for a drop to adhere to the outside of the spout and to run down and be lost. Instead, the beaker is tipped back only slightly and the clinging drop is to transfer to the rod by touching a rod to the beaker spout. The drop adhering to the end of the rod is removed by touching it to the side of the crucible, and rod is laid across the top of the beaker with the weight and resting on the spout. Means what? You can see for understanding now. You have your precipitate in this beaker. You have this rod. So you just hold one beaker with one hand and a rod with another. Now you can see this is your setup with crucible holder and flask. So a rod may be held considerably out of verticals, little bit verticals if convenient, and a spout of beaker held as close to bottom, so it is not come outside. You can see bottom of rod as convenient. Rod is always used to prevent a splash, so just stick with this rod to your beaker so that it will not splash out. So this is the correct method of transferring a solution to a filter crucible. Now it is advantageous to wash some precipitate by decantations because better contact may be achieved between precipitate and washed liquid. To wash by decantation, the beaker is set upright on the tables and the bulk of the precipitate adhered to the side is washed onto the bottom with a stream from the wash bottle. The precipitate and liquid are swirled, the precipitate allowed to settle for a few minutes, and the supernatant then poured through the crucible, leaving most of the precipitate behind, and this process is repeated once or twice more using enough wash liquids per portion to give depth of 1 to 2 centimeters. The filter crucible is allowed to drain before the next wash portion is added. Now friends, after the last washing by decantation, most of the precipitate still remains in the beaker. The loose part of this precipitate is transferred to the filter as shown in figure. One hand holds the beaker and rod while the other hand manipulates the stream of wash water. Now, after the loose part of the precipitate is removed, the adhering particles are dislodged with a policeman. A fixed another clean glass rod. Any precipitate adhering to the original rod is also dislodged and the rod is rinsed so that the washing fall into the beaker. The original rod is laid aside. The dislodged precipitate is transferred to the crucible. The policeman should be wet with the deionized water before contacting the precipitate. When the rod with a policeman is used to pouring, the beaker spot is placed against the policeman. If the spot is placed against the glass, solution may be lost. It flows over the shoulder of the policeman. The loosening and transfer process is repeated until the inspections of the beaker shows no precipitate remaining. Now friends, after precipitate is quantitatively transferred to the crucible, the final washing is begun immediately. A precipitate is never allowed to dry before the final washing, nor even to drain for a long time, for it might cake off channel, and wash liquid would then drain ineffectively through the crack. So all things it is written, if you go through the practical way, no need to too much language. You just think about here, this is your last washing you are doing, and here is your now your solid. This is your wash bottle. You have two hand, one hand with rod and with beaker. You can see how gently they hold it, and then another hand you have your wash bottle, and then you have the setup. So in this way you have to transferring the precipitate to the filter crucible. And then last, if you have something, then you can see how little bit amounts you can using the policeman. This is your policeman. So my friends, I hope this way of methods of filtration you have to take care about it. First, every time when you do filtration, first you have to focus the cleaning. First you clean it properly, because if anything is here, it destroy your compounds. So first you clean properly and then go through the proper way of handling and do the filtration, because it is not very easy task. You know friends, you have the precipitate. If one time it dissolve in any solvent, then again it will be problematic for you. So you have 4 hours 24 hours reaction, and if you not work properly, then 24 hours 8 hours hard work will go in a step. So friends, be careful when you are doing filtration. So I hope this video will be helpful to you. In this video I show you how you will do the filtration of your precipitates. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, then subscribe my channel and share it in your friend circle.